Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to boys and girls, to RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series. A little bit later than planned, but load shedding has been a great one to deal with. My name is Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the box, like usual, is the world's slowest alien, Janneman Price. Janneman, how are you doing today? That's it. But let's take a look. Ryan Otten's in first place, Mac van der Merwe in second place, Morgan McCall and Bernard Barkhuizen are your top four. Bego Kroblet, Daniel Rowe, Grant Sebastian, Sujan Pillay, Mahath Musa, and SES House rounding out your top 10. Indianapolis, very difficult circuit, home to the Indy 500, and always a very interesting circuit to see who's going to climb their way to the top. Gentlemen, thoughts on what may or may not happen with the race? 45-minute sprint race around Indianapolis is no joke. All right, just taking a look at some people saying they can't quite hear you. I'm just trying to find out what exactly gone there. I do apologize, guys. A little bit of technical
difficulty. Mic up a bit.
There we go. I've got you. All right, and the race is on. Mac van der Merwe trying to pull away. Ryan Otten's dropping down second. He's got the inside line, though, and Morgan McCall trying to make it through wide. Couldn't make it stick, though, as they gently feed their way through turn one. Mac into second place. Morgan McCall into third. Janneman, a bit of a tight squeeze into turn one. Bego Krobler now on the defense with Daniel Rowe chasing him. Daniel Rowe up on the inside, managed to sneak it by. Bernard Barkhuizen also coming back with a fight. Mahath Musa and Grant Sebastian all going and making a bit of a clean run. It doesn't look too bad for turn one, especially with such a tight corner. And, well, it's all on. Let's see who's going to claw their way through the field. Oh! Morgan McCall, though, it looks like Morgan's disconnected.
That was interesting. I was going to say, that was kind of interesting. I think Morgan disconnected there.
Morgan disconnected. Do you think Murphy was sitting with a wrench? Oh, in contact between De Villiers, and De Villiers turned round mid-grid. So now facing the wrong direction. And let's actually see if we can take a look at what happened there. Let's go on board from the helmet. And this is from De Villiers' seat. De Villiers landed up with slight contact and facing the wrong way down the field. Not quite the position you want to be in, especially when you've got half the grids yet to come through you.
Yeah, I mean, lap one is a very difficult one. Oh, we got a bit much of that corners. These corners can kill you at Indianapolis, and basically looks like he understeered into the car next to him that turned him around. And then you're a sitting duck for the whole of the field to come past you because you can't move. There's just cars left, right, and center from you. So that dropped him way back down the field.
It looks like he went into the side of this driver over here, Sujan Pillay, under braking, and as you said, just understeered into the side of him. Sujan very luckily not to get turned around as well with a pit maneuver. Well, that's could have been a textbook pit maneuver, and you land up with a world of hurt as we see SES House busy drifting that little Honda as didn't quite have the cornering he wanted, just over rotation of the rear, and the tires still not up to the best of temperatures as yet. The brakes are not up to temperature. The drivers are having to really compete with either extreme oversteer or extreme understeer. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As you said, tires not up to temperature yet, but there's a couple of corners at Indianapolis that can catch you out. One of them, turn one. The other one, that was where the Villiers spun around. You can see those corners. If you take too much of that corner, it can put the car in the air. And as we know, with all four wheels off the ground, brilliant for tire wear, but not so good for steering and throttle control and braking.
And we see Loic Randabel going and battling it out with Brandon Kruger. Brandon chasing him down, really putting some pressure onto the back of him. The Aston Martin should have the advantage in the straight line compared to the Porsche because there's no replacement for displacement. But the Porsche through the corners is going to be a lot better unless he goes out wide. Loic going and really running that car out wide. Now it's going onto the oval, and this is where you put down the power and get going. And for anyone that doesn't quite know Indianapolis too well, go look at Indianapolis and Formula One, what happened to the Michelin tires?
I think there were 5 cars on the grid that started, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it 7? Can't remember. It was too long ago. It was 2005, I think.
Yes, and there was 5 cars that started on the grid because guys kept saying their tires were getting destroyed, and out of protest decided to stay out of it. And this is what the GT cars have to be careful of, because while they're fighting it out, much like Daniel Rowe and Bernard Barkhuizen at the moment, they're putting more wear and tear onto those tires, slowly breaking it down every step of the way. And it's going to start hammering those front tires being the most, because you are demanding a lot out of them under braking.
I mean, absolutely. And there's a couple of corners on this Indianapolis circuit where understeer definitely is not going to be your friend, especially through that last section. You mentioned the Formula One cars, with the GT3 cars, you go flat out through that last turn. If you're going to, wreck your tires, it's going to hurt you all the way down that main pit straight. And also not just the main pit straight as we see them go through here, also that short backy straight that you get through on the other side of the track. I mean, if you destroy your front tires, you're going to be in for a world of hurt on this circuit.
Well, if we bring up the track map a little bit, you can actually see it utilizes part of the Indianapolis oval. And that is a massive change in camber that the guys are going to have to deal with. A change of camber, undulation, everything. And it's putting more and more strain onto those tires. Dean Cabasa, Jean Robertha, and Nicolas Manuel. And there is 2 different ways of coming out of the corner to try and carry momentum. You can either keep a tight inside line going onto the oval and try to bring yourself back up, or you can just go the long way around, try and get an extra 2-3 kilometers and get onto the toe. And this is where it's dependent on how you set your car up, because ideally for oval, the flatter the better, instead of having, when you get into the tighter cornering, put as much aero as you can to try and slow you down and get you through the corners as fast as possible.
I mean, absolutely. Indianapolis is very much a circuit of 2 halves. It sounds strange when I say it, but you got the oval, you mentioned flat, you got this inner field which is very tight and twisty, and obviously in this section, you want as much downforce on the car as possible. You want to stick it down to the road as much as possible, but very well knowing that you're going to lose out during the faster sections, like on this back straight and then on that pit straight, as I already mentioned, as we look at Buerta, Dean Cabasa, and Manuel. I mean, these guys are absolutely slugging it out, running very close together. I know it's still very early parts of the race. We're only, 7 minutes in, but I think this is a sign of things to come on this Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's it. And you've also got the likes of Tini and Kube, who's also keeping up to Darren Miller. And it's a bit of a to and fro of what type of vehicles have got the advantage. The big Mercedes, with its naturally how the car works, able to claw its way through. The BMW is a little bit more balanced. But then you've got the rotation. And I know you're a big fan of having an engine in the right place, which is in the front. Your thoughts of guys like with the Porsches, like Renault Grandable, Mac van der Merwe with the Audi, these different little pieces come into play, and your thoughts onto that of, do you think they have a little bit more advantage on the circuit versus our front engine counterparts?
Very difficult one to say. I mean, the mid-engine cars, we all know, have got better rotation on them, but from the videos that I have watched, they need to tend to watch out a little bit more for the corners, taking the curbs. And I mentioned earlier on curbs that can catch you out a little bit, where the front engine cars might be a little bit more comfortable through those curbs. So I think we'll have to see. Still, my money is still on the front engine cars, purely for the love of them.
It were designed correct. The engines in the front and the
exactly.
drivetrains in the back.
Yes.
The first engine, the first car that was ever built, the engine was mass production was towards the front, except for the Ford Model T originally when it came out as a prototype, was actually a rear engine. Just random thoughts for knowledge. But
obviously they realized their mistake and moved the engine to the front.
Yeah, you just the common sense prevailed at some point.
Yeah. Are we going to get slaughtered for this one tonight, I think?
But if I was around Indianapolis, one thing I'd love to be in is in an Indy car. Big brakes, lightweight, and get going. But these cars sitting at just over a ton each is going to be very, very difficult to stop stop when you need to. And you've got to also think about into the corners is a little bit more difficult because your brake markers are not your usual track markers. For anyone that remembers Watkins Glen, how that worked out, you take a look back at Daytona as the Daytona 24 happened. Your brake markers are sitting into the fences. It's not sitting on the ground where your usual circuits have them, such as Monza, having those little brake markers, because ideally these circuits were used for more of your oval racing versus your GT racing.
Yeah, not just that, even on these type of American tracks, your brake markers are normally in feet. They're not in meters. So I know for turn 1, they are braking roughly around about the 400 feet mark to get into this tight turn 1. So it can be kind of, well, it definitely confuses my brain when I races on these tracks.
Well, I've got a question.
Yes.
You're talking about it's in feet. Is it depending whether you're on that you've got a size 6, a size 7? Does that count?
And that's exactly the problem. I don't know how feet work. How large is the average foot? I mean,
nobody answer that because you're going out yourself with a fetish.
Yeah.
Nobody answer that.
I mean, it's one of those things. I think it's more a case you must set your mind up from I'm going to break there.
I'm going to break now and hope it sticks.
Yeah.
Now, we got some amazing battles. Darren Miller and Tini Nkube battling out. Eric Costain, Justin Lotus having a good go at one another. Dean Kabasa has been slugging it out as well. He got around De Villiers, who earlier landed up with the car rotating underneath him. SES House trying to go around the outside. And you can just see that Honda squirming all over the place at this point. It seems like the rear is not even connected. So just completely disconnect the rear anti-roll bar. Don't worry about it. And just trying to battle around. But this is where I'm going to ask the technical standpoint, because we're at 34 minutes at the moment. The guys are still slugging it out. What would you prefer to have? A car that's a bit stiffer and that you can move your way around the circuit and handle the oval part a bit better? Or do you have something a little bit more loose to go and try and maneuver your way around tighter corners? This is all gambles, and what would you say would be your gamble if you're in the driver's situation? Because a lot of these drivers are doing the sprint race as a build-up to tomorrow night, the Medal States Grid Championship Season 2, and they're trying to refine the setups at this point.
I mean, absolutely. But for me, personally, you asked the question, and you know me. I want a car where the front end sticks and the back just needs to live with it. That's how I honestly prefer my cars. So if I have that, and it also means that I sometimes run a bit more downforce, I run a bit more rake on the cars to get the car to do what I want it to do. That also means that I give a little bit of speed away on the straights. But if I have a car underneath me where the front end sticks and the back end lives with it, I feel I've got a car that I can attack with. I want to drive the car. I don't want the car to drive me. And I know a lot of guys say lose is fast, and I fully respect that. But I don't want to have to worry about a car that's rear end's going to step out the whole time. That's how I tend to race.
Well, just taking a look at Eric Costain. Justin Lotus is trying to sneak up on the inside. Couldn't make it past. Eric Costain managing to lock it down. That Porsche really trying everything he can. Bernard Barkhuizen and Daniel Rowe are slugging out to and fro at this point. The BMW just having the legs over the Aston Martin. Bernard Barkhuizen really trying his hand at it. And Sujin Pillay and Mahath Musa. Sanjan Pillay and Mahath Musa going and slugging it out between one another. So battles up and down. But at the moment, Ryan Otten's 2.6 seconds ahead of Mac van der Merwe. Daniel Rowe trying to deal with Bernard Barkhuizen, now going up on the inside. And Daniel Rowe just having a little bit more on the brakes. Onto the dirt, though. Barkhuizen going around the outside, has to go the long way around, makes it stick. Beautifully done. Daniel Rowe trying to come back at him, but Barkhuizen has got the corner pretty much locked down at this point. And Daniel Rowe is going to have to sit in the tow and pull himself along as they slug their way through. A little bit further back, we've got Eric Hostain and Justin Lotus once again going and slugging it out. Justin Lotus trying to go a little bit later on the brakes, but just not having the legs to get one move up.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, with Ryan Ottens and Van der Merwe out in front, Stephen, at this stage, the mid-engine cars, they are winning, but not far behind is Barkhuizen and Daniel Rose slugging it out into those two front-engine cars. So out of the top four, we've got two mid-engines out in front and then followed by the two front-engine cars. But you mentioned it, extremely close racing currently going on, and I absolutely love it about this sprint racing. You know, there's no time to relax. There's no time for these drivers to relax. Oh, as we see Eric Hostain getting that Porsche, all sorts of out of shape, that rear end stepping out a little bit and, you know, costing him a little bit of time there.
Oh, it's just turning into a frantic fight. And you know, for a 45-minute race around Indianapolis is no joke. You're going to be worn out. Every little muscle is going to be sore with you just sorting out little twitches underneath you. Also, for anyone that's got load cell brakes, their left leg's going to be building up a huge amount of lactic acid and giving them a very difficult time trying to get on the brakes a little bit later, and also stomping as hard as they can onto it. Even guys with more potentiometers like your G29 Logitechs, they've also got to try and remember how far their foot needs to go. These are little fights that people are going to be so careful of. Justin Lotus getting past Eric Hostain under braking. So the BMWs showing they can brake a little bit better than the Porsches, but it seems like the front engines are not having the best of times at the moment, considering first and second place is both Porsche and Audi dominating at the moment. 3.6 seconds behind is Bernard Barkhuizen with Daniel Rowe. Interesting enough, though, Barkhuizen has done the best lap time of a 1:35.122 as the quickest lap time throughout the field. He's sitting in third place. So, all in all, some incredible racing. But now we're going to have the two teammates slugging it out. Eric Hostain and Hansi Myberg. Hansi trying to claw his way through. He's up into 16th position and really trying to get back into the tow and get into the groove of things. Hansi Myberg just hasn't had the best of races of late, and it seems to be an up and down. A lot of the field have been having some proper highs and lows this season.
Absolutely, as we see in Kuban, is that Randall in front of him duking it out. Stephen, just there, I want to mention something again. It almost looks like Nkube had Randall there on the brakes, and it's kind of strange for me that a BMW can outbrake a Porsche. These Porsches are normally very good on the brakes. Let's see what happens at turn one as Nkube decides not really to make use of the tow. He's going to sit back and follow me around for another lap, maybe try and enforce an error there or something. But what do you think about the braking of these BMWs on this Indianapolis track?
Well, the beaver teeth BMWs trying to catch up to the glorified Beetles is always something interesting to watch. And now I am to be assassinated tonight, it seems. Taking a look, though, Robert McCall actually jumping into the chat and confirming what we thought. Unfortunately, Morgan McCall getting disconnected, which is such a blow considering he's been on a charge. There's been setbacks and setbacks, but the McCall family have been properly trying to think of how can they overcome the setbacks. I know they've been chatting to his teammate, Yannaman, you and I both know they've been chatting to Christian Deploy to try and figure out what's going to be the best way of how can they maintain positivity with all the setbacks that are going on. But that's what makes this sport rather interesting, because no matter the setback, you're going to have to put it to the back of your head. You're going to have to think about what can you do to keep a mind frame that's better for the future, where it can get you to the next race, instead of deciding to pack it in and go play a certain cartoony first person
on the inside. Whoa, running wide. Okay, never mind. Continue, Steve.
I think he's mowing the lawn at that point. There's going and running wide.
That's put him out of pressure, under pressure from his teammate, Bego Grobler, and we know these two can do a little bit of racing when they get together on the track.
Well, what was it that we saw last time? Let's go back to Watkins Glen heading
Daniel
into
ran
the
out
bus
of
stop.
fuel.
No,
Oh, no, they're into the bus stop. Okay. Thought
Into
you were talking about the last lap.
the last lap, Daniel Rowe ran out of juice, going and just overestimating how much he burned. But Bago, Krobler, and Daniel Rowe into the bus stop decided to, well, introduce each other, maybe swap a bit of paint, fold each other's mirrors in because they couldn't quite see properly. A bit of teammate hug and kiss.
Yeah, but I think it's brilliant that two teammates can, duke it out, elbows out, and go to war, basically. I think it's beautiful. I love it.
No team orders there from...
no team orders. Nah, just go racing.
But definitely you can expect that the captain is very concerned seeing the two lined up once again and going, guys, just let's behave. Let's keep it together here. Think about the long race.
Nope, not going to do that. But, this fight between Manuel and Kirstein and behind them, Buerta is also starting to heat up.
That's Myberg. That's Myberg. Myberg has lost out. He outbraked himself. That's allowed Eric Kirstein to catch up. Manuel closed up. Jean-Ray Buerta has also gone to this, so it's now turned back into a four-car battle. But, I mean, you don't know where to look at this point because up and down through the field, everyone is so close to one another. And we see Nicholas Manuel getting into the toe of Eric Kirstein. Kirstein trying to go to the inside line. It's going to be a difficult one under the brakes. And it looks like the BMW just able to eke ahead. But who's going to have it onto the marbles? Eric Kirstein just keeping it ahead. But you can be sure that that left leg and right leg is starting to shake like no tomorrow at this point. Seeing that his mirrors are completely filled up. If we actually go into the helmet, you can just see the likes of Nicholas Manuel right behind and Buerta lurking right behind him going, listen, we're coming. We want that position. It's very difficult to put it to the back of your mind and say, right, I need to try and pull away from these guys because you always got someone lurking.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, on my other screen, I'm just keeping an eye on that Rowe Bago Krobler battle. And there's another guy that's going to join their little battle quite soon, and that's Sanjan Pillai. He's not far behind those two, so that's also going to turn out into a three-car battle pretty soon.
Well, just taking a look, we just lost Nkube. Nkube has disappeared. So it looks like we've got another disconnect, which is unfortunate. And there we go, Kleinans, who's now waiting for everyone, trying to rejoin.
It's a difficult spot to try and rejoin there because you're on the racing line there on the outside.
And definitely deep breaths were taken at that point by a lot of drivers. Kuba is back in. He's in 13, so I just saw him drop down. So must have been a glitch on the timing system. Do apologize. Darren Miller for the Race for Hope, going and battling out with Loic and Randabel. Got to get that right. He was nice enough to send a voice note to us just to correct, and so is Sanjan Pillai sending us a breakdown. So guys, if we do get it horribly wrong, forgive us. We do try.
We're going to start mapping buttons with all the names. So we're going to ask you to send us voice notes with your names on. So that each and every time we can refer to a driver, we can just press the button, and you hear your own voice say your own name. How you like that one?
There we go. Kleinan's dropping further back down the field, so he's gone into 22nd position, and looks like that Honda just starting to slide out a little bit more than, where he wants it to be.
Yeah, you spoke about earlier about the cars being loose, and we're starting to see a clear difference in terms of setups on this track. We see some of the guys are relatively planted on the track, where the other guys, they are slipping and sliding a little bit. And, you can clearly see those cars are loose and they're trying to get as much out of them as possible.
Bago Krobler still going after Daniel Rowe. And as you said, Sanjan Pillai trying to catch up 1.3 and closed up 0.3 of a second under braking. So Bago Krobler getting a little bit angry with his teammate just ahead of him. It seems like he has the advantages in one place, but Daniel Rowe's got him sorted out in the other. But Sanjan Pillai is not going to hold back. He's starting to close right down onto the back of him and hoping that one of these two are going to make a huge mistake and throw both of them off the circuit. And you can also be sure, looking back at the history, looking at Watkins Glen, Sanjan Pillay has got his eyes on it just to have enough leaning room to avoid if there is any problems. But the team must be also having a chat to one another at some point, saying, listen, guys, we got to focus on the bigger picture here of the team championship, the driver championship. How are we going to do this? Yes, you can slug it out, but you don't want to wipe it out in the 20 minutes. You want to at least have a 10-lap race to the end.
I mean, yes, you do. After this race tonight, we're halfway through the season. 4 races done, 4 to go. I mean, you're getting to that latter parts of the season where you're going to have to start thinking about all those things. Like championships, where am I sitting in the championship? Where's the team sitting in the championship? As we have a look at Justin Lotus trying to go on the inside of Miller there, running a very narrow line there. Oh, that was close, but somehow they made it through there in one piece without touching. I mean, that turn 1, Steven, narrows up on you so much. You don't actually expect it until you're in that turn.
Oh, you arrive on the scene. Here we go. This is the start line where you've got all the pace to go. Really gunning it and giving it everything you got. Try and find your brake markers. There they are. Hard onto the brakes, and then it just tightens into a 90. You can see the steering angle that he has to try and throw the car in. You've got to focus so much to get it right. Otherwise, you're going to land up in the weeds or you're going to land up in the side of your competition. There's no in-between of it. There's no trying to get in between. As we see Jean Bertha getting past Nicholas Manuel, and here comes De Villiers sending it. Oh! De Villiers getting, well, I can say the Stallion got a little bit frisky. And once again, trying it up. Yeah, a bit of DTM action, considering the GT3s are now DTM cars as well.
But does the rule apply that if you finish with both rear view mirrors, you haven't raced? Does that apply to the DTM GT3 cars as well?
No, because you're going to have the Italian getting very cross at you if you break his Ferrari. That's for certain. Go and ask Nicky Loud. Oh, there we go. We were waiting for the send, and unfortunately,
I think it was that curb again. Let's have a look. I think he got too much curb there, and that launched the car. It almost looked like it.
You can see Bertha just ahead of him. He's hunting him down. The Ferrari having some legs underneath it, but just not enough to get by. Let's see if he brakes a bit later. Down onto the brakes, gets in past, goes for the curb. Oh, just closed in underneath him.
Ran out of room.
Centered from Botswana to Cape Town. Didn't quite make it. Toll gates got him halfway through.
Oh, what a pity, and he paid the toll for that. Well, yeah, something like that.
I don't think he paid the toll. I think, unfortunately, it looked like Bertha landed up with the... Genre Bertha landed up with the issue. Nicholas Manuel and... Oh, that's De Villiers again. De Villiers and Manuel. What has gone on?
I think
here's De Villiers. Into helmet cam. Did he try late brake once again? Seemingly he's got some pace to him and can go a little bit later. Tries to... Turns it in. Oh, just understeers off into the side of him and spins both cars out.
And you don't want to be parked there because there's no room to pass. Oops.
Bit of a... I won't lie, a little bit of a rough rejoin, but it does look like one of the cars calling it quits. That's Nicholas Manuel saying, listen, I think we've had enough now. The poor little car's taken a fair beating and is going to need a repair.
Oh, Bago having a little look on Daniel Rowe there, but decided to back out of it. Maybe seeing it was a little bit too far back, deciding to tuck in behind that BMW and follow his teammate around for another lap. But it definitely looks like these two are racing. Might be a little bit more cautiously than the last time, but they are definitely not just following each other around, are they?
No, not at all. They're really giving it everything they got. And I just want to point out to this man over here in the Honda. Somehow, once again, I don't know how, and I think we've got a problem here. Jan Kleinans writes in the comments that he was distracted by his cat, and that's why he made the mistake. He did this while he's racing, so
Sorry about that.
I don't think your cat is the only thing that's distracting you. You're listening to the stream while you're trying to race, buddy, and we didn't give you the best advice last week, Thursday.
I didn't give the best advice last week, Wednesday. I tried to make up for it last week, Thursday, but that did not work. So it seems like Mr. Kleinans is back at it, texting and driving, or whatever it is doing. Maybe he's got, voice to text. Does YouTube has voice to text?
A lot of stress, and De Villiers going around and round again. So De Villiers just having a terrible run at this point. Jump onto Helicam because I think this is just the Ferrari getting loose underneath him, and he lost out 2 positions trying to straighten himself out. But De Villiers having a nightmare of a run this race.
I mean, absolutely. We're waiting for. Oh, it looks like grass. Yep, he was on the grass and he saw the oncoming traffic.
Nice save. Nice.
Yeah.
Save. It was so close. You nearly had it.
Nearly had it.
On the Helicam, you can just see how tight the corner is. Justin Lotus has got Miller climbing all over the back of him, and he's going after Loic Rendable. Just absolutely incredible stuff to see how difficult the circuit actually is and how quickly the corners drop off for you. Justin Lotus going side by side with Loic, trying to force him onto the marbles. Loic getting pushed off into the dirt, the glorified Beetle Porsche. Unfortunately, going and visiting the grass a little bit early, trying to come back, go around the outside, carry the momentum through. This is where we saw De Villiers lose out, and now Miller's got into the fight, and Kube is also keeping an eye on it, and it's turning into a 4-horse race here. Loic trying to outbrake the big mighty Mercedes, managed to do it. Slight scuffle between the two, and Kube comes around. He's now looking to try and get past Miller, and does so.
Wow.
What a move. And Kube just going and lining that one up, just seeing all that is going on. And unfortunately, Miller, who tried his luck, just the succession of corners did not favor. He didn't have the momentum to do so. Now trying to come back, and Kube going after Loic Randable at this point and is pushing as hard as he can. The Petronas BMW having a great one. The Master Land Racing BM just really slugging it out. And wow, this is actually a fight for 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th position. It's not even at first place. First place is 8.3 seconds away from it. So Ryan Otten's, Mac van der Merwe, Bernard Barkhuizen has kept up a close gap between himself and Mac van der Merwe, 0.7 of a second. Daniel Rowe, Bego Krobler, Sanjin Pillay, Mahayath Musa, Brandon Kruger, Grant Sebastian, Justin Lotus is your top 10 at the moment, and just some incredible racing and some, I've got to take my hats off. Guys have put in some fantastic moves this race.
I mean, absolutely. Ryan Ottens has checked out a little bit in front, but behind him, it's absolute, I always want to say absolute carnage in terms of racing. I mean, these guys are all over each other, going side by side through sections. I mean, we saw Nkube making passes where you shouldn't be making passes. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. This is laying the stage for what might happen tomorrow night, Stephen.
If this is what's going to happen tomorrow night, I think both you and I are going to run out of breath very quickly. Because
we're going to take a break halfway through.
It's just add 2 pit stops to this at Indianapolis with this type of racing and the level of talent that all the drivers are showing at this point is absolutely fantastic. I'm so interested to see what can be the possible strategies, because if you're running like Bernard Barkhuizen and Mac van der Merwe, and if you take round 1, round 2, round 3 of what they were, I can't actually say who's going to win. You can't say who's going to win, even though Ryan Ottens has got such a pace now. All he has to do is make one wrong move, and Mac van der Merwe would make up a huge amount of time. Bernard Barkhuizen diving up on the inside makes it stick. Mac van der Merwe trying to go around the outside couldn't make it stick. A little bit of slide coming from the Audi, but absolutely phenomenal stuff. Bernard Barkhuizen, who's trying to keep his championship at this point, with Mac van der Merwe, who is the defending champion from last season, having a good go at it. And Mac van der Merwe hasn't had all the points in the bag at the moment to claw his way through, but is trying to make up a bit of time. Oh, contact between the teammates.
I saw that on my right-hand side screen. That's why I made all kind of funny noises.
Let's go to Helicam. But what happened to Daniel Rowe and Bago Krobler? Oh, my heavens. Watkins Glen, round 2. That's all I'm thinking.
Yeah, I saw that out of the corner of my eye. Daniel Rowe running wide, losing it, and Bago trying to avoid him, also losing it, and I think Daniel arrived at the scene of the accident there, just after he had his own accident.
I think also Bago trying to avoid landed up. He's just no steering at that point and was just hoping to avoid something. The two teammates landing up with a problem, and it's, well, the only thing you can do, both you and I know this all too well, pack out laughing and, well, just try and limp both broken cars to the end, because there's nothing else you can do.
You sound like you talk out of experience here.
I think both you and I have had experience in this, unfortunately. But, yeah, it was just one led into the other, which led into the other, and you can't put blame onto anyone. No. You just have to throw your hands up and go, well, that happened. What's the chances?
I mean, it all started, unfortunately, Daniel ran wide onto the grass. He lost it. Bago tried to avoid it. And in avoiding him, he lost it. And Daniel recovered. And by the time he recovered, Bago was out in front of him. And there's absolutely nothing anybody can do. It's a course of events. It's all that it is.
It's a problem running so close to your teammate.
Yeah. Maybe next race, me and you should distance ourselves.
Social distancing now allowed.
Yes, but going back to this little battle, Randall running wide again. It's almost as if he's really struggling with the rear end of that Porsche. He can't get it under control. We've seen that car sideways more often than not. Now it looks like I don't know if he's intentionally going wide or if the car is understeering wide. But it's something that I want to touch on, Stephen, and want to ask your opinion about this. Looking out in front, it certainly does almost look like the front engine cars are coming back a little bit in the latter parts of this race. Oh, contact!
I think that was just outbreaking. Let's go to the Helicam on that one. And I think Loic just climbed on the anchors a little bit too late and went up on the inside and just gave the slightest of nudges. And it's very hard to identify the corner. If you're on the inside or you brake too late, it's just tickets for anyone. And yeah, there we go. Tag on the rear right real arch, unfortunately, landed up with a problem. But I do want to take my hat off. Despite the incident, Loic has given the position back. Instead of just continuing to accelerate, he has given the position back and has got a gap to go and fight it out once again. But this is what we've been seeing in the Pro Series quite a lot. And we actually, not only in the Pro Series, but we've seen it with our AMs, we've seen it with our Pro-Ams, our Golds, our Silvers. The guys being respectful of each other's races, knowing that, listen, I've made a problem. Let's give the position back. I will take my penalty after the race, but I want to earn the position fairly. And that's something you got to take your hat off to all the sim drivers for going and doing that. Instead of just driving through your competition like the AI, it's realizing that it's a person on the other end.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, was it Gunther Steiner that said we only need to take 18 other cars out, and it doesn't matter what penalty we get, we'll still win the race. I mean, it's the respect you were talking about. I mean, the guys have got a little bit of contact there. BMW turning in a little bit early.
That's Eric Chastain and Dean Cabasa going, and sharing paintwork, just maybe needing the orange. Oh, Eric Kirstein getting it sideways. The Porsche tank slapper once again has come into play. Dean Kabasa now all over him, and Werner Schumann as well. So Werner is now joined into the battle. So we got Porsche, BM, Audi. If you want to talk about a German lineup, there it is.
I mean, you couldn't get any closer than that in terms of German engineering, Vorsprung durch Technik. But at this stage, that front engine BMW sandwich between those two mid-engine cars, Stephen, I don't know, these mid-engine cars seems like they're getting a bit lively through the latter parts of this race. I mean, we've got 6 minutes to go. We've seen more than one mid-engine car, getting that tail out, getting that slide, where the front-engine cars do seem to be a little bit more planted, maybe have a little bit of understeer, but nothing too imminent as we see. Was it? Oh, I'm starting to run out of breath here. And my English is starting to run out.
Switch to Afrikaans. Go for it. Werner Schumann going and catching up to Dean Kabasa, really focusing on a hard charge at the moment. Kleinans has got a battle with SE Esterhaus a little bit further back, but out at the front, Ryan Otten's got a 10.3 second gap ahead of Bernard Barkhuizen, who's managed to open up a gap to Mac van der Merwe. Daniel Rowe is in fourth place. Sanjin Pillay chasing him down 1.3 seconds behind. So some great racing all around. Guys starting to go through. But what I'm noticing, especially on like the two Hondas, SE Esterhaus, young Kleinans, who are teammates with one another, I'm noticing on how far the nose dips on the cars. And when I talk about that, it's how softly sprung the suspension is on the nose, and also how much force of braking is on the nose, where the brake bias is set to. You'll watch the Porsches slam the nose into the ground, where the BMs are a little bit more balanced in the way they brake. So it tells me they're a bit stiffer. But the Audis are kind of a confusing one because, as you can see, dips onto the nose and, just a bit a little bit shoulder out.
Into the BMW, and dips into the BMW.
Yeah, just checking if the door was closed. Just had to listen. I thought your door was slightly open. Let me just, you remember the bum technique. For anyone that doesn't know the bum technique, it's to close the door. If you've closed the door and you've locked it, but you didn't quite close it properly, use the bum technique.
Now, here's a question. You've mentioned it does look like, the mid-engine cars might be a little bit more softly sprung, as we see Schumann running wide there, getting back into the toe of Kirstein. And he's going to have a look there on the inside. Does that Audi have the legs to pass that BMW? Certainly looks like they're almost side by side. Who's going to be latest on the brakes?
Dean Kabasa has shown the BMW can brake very, very late, but it looks like Schumann going in, battling it out. Werner not hanging back, though. He is properly slugging it out. Werner really doing what he can. Little dab of the brakes just to get the Audi all settled and managing to get by, but Dean Kabasa still side by side. I mean, these two are at it hammer and tongs at this point. There is nothing in between it. Drive it on the dirt, put it side by side. It's almost like it's orchestrated.
Yeah, I mean, and yet Kabasa coming out in front again, so they're going to line each other up again. He's covering that inside line. Schumann looking to the inside, but he's pulling a Steven Koenig move there, positioning the car smack bang in the middle of the track, so you don't know which way to go. I think come the pit straight, we're going to see a lot more side-by-side action, or even before that.
Oh, with 2 minutes, 42 seconds to go, every driver is starting to push as hard as they can. This is the closest battle on circuit, though. And honestly, we don't give too much love to old Schumann and Dean Kabasa.
Running wide.
Kabasa just hitting the brakes a fraction too late. I mean, let's go. You want to talk about it? We spoke about it, of missing the brake marker. And, well, we're about to see it firsthand from Dean Kabasa's eyes. And,
now on...
I don't know how it's going to be. Get it onto the straight.
I mean,
and there's a too late.
You should have... your brake marker is just before that board on the fence on the left-hand side. And, yeah, it's it's one of those things where you get to a point where you say to yourself, I should have braked back there. It's you make peace with the fact that it's too late now.
You start going and thinking about visiting the spectators on the side. Sanjan Pillay having a go at Daniel Rowe, the two hybrid academy drivers duking it out. Daniel Rowe trying to hold that 4th place. Sanjan, though, giving him a little bit of a bump draft as they go hard onto the brakes. And you can see a little bit more movement on the Ferrari, just under braking. But Daniel Rowe's car looking a little bit worse for wear. That bonnet's open for more advanced cooling after Bago decided to help with engine cooling. What do you think?
No, definitely. Daniel is struggling in that BMW. I think he's struggling on top-end speed as well. And that allowed Sanjan Pillay to close up to him rapidly. I mean, if you remember back into the previous parts of the race, Daniel and Bago was actually pulling a little bit of a gap over Sanjan, and now all of a sudden Sanjan is over the back, all over the back of that BMW. I think Daniel might have a difficult time keeping Sanjan behind, but 35 seconds left in the race, he might just exactly do that.
I'm wondering if Sanjan's getting told by his pit boss at the moment. 4th position question?
Multi-21?
No, I don't think we've got to that point. You know, we're talking about Ferrari here. We've seen some interesting maneuvers.
But I believe this must be the last lap of the race. I don't think they're going to do one more lap after this one.
Not at all. Miller, Myberg, and Nkube all in tow with one another. All front engines. 1 Mercedes, 2 BMWs to duke it out. And actually what's happening is you get to see these cars out on circuit, and the Kyalami 9-hour that we're having this weekend has got the Mercedes and the BMW to take it out against one another. So for anyone that is watching that, you get to see these exact cars go and battle it out.
And if I remember correctly, Mercedes won it last year, but there weren't any BMWs out on track.
I still think the Honda looked the best. Was very cross with their team, but it was the best looking. Daniel Rowe and Sanjan Pillay duking it out as we get our final lap. Board is up, so Ryan Otten's looking to try and get across the line. He's going to be, if he can maintain it at the moment, 11.4 seconds. He just absolutely had an easy run. Is going to be taking 1st place, which is going to help the championship at the moment. Bernard Barkhuizen would, at the moment, if he keeps that 2nd away from Mac van der Merwe, he will take 2nd place. That's also a healthy bunch of points to take home. Mac van der Merwe also trying to make up a bit of ground. But Daniel Rowe and Sanjan Pillay are no hold bar, duke it out, drag each other through. Sanjan's got the drive though. Can he go later on the brakes? No, Daniel Rowe just showing that BMW can climb on the anchors a little bit harder. But Ryan Ottens comes across the line. Mac van der Merwe coming across the line. Bernard Barkhuizen, very slow.
In 3rd.
Fuel?
Fuel. No,
fuel. Daniel Rowe ahead of Sanjan Pillay as a drag race.
That we missed.
And actually, you know, we've got a bit of 30 seconds warning. What happened to Bernard Barkhuizen? Let's take a look. Comes around.
Oh, that looks like oh no. Yeah.
Not enough 93. That's
no.
that's all that it looks like.
Too little.
Yeah. that half a kilo you really needed. But absolutely amazing driving. So Ryan Otten's 1st place, Mac van der Merwe in 2nd, Bernard Barkhuizen in 3rd. He's still circulating though and drifting it round. Daniel Rowe in 4th, Sanjan Pillay in 5th, 6th place, Brandon Kruger, followed by Grant Sebastian, Justin Lotus, Darren Miller comes across the line, Hunty Myberg, Tini Nkube, Loic Randabel, Essie Estaus, Dean Kabasa just finishing right behind him, Werner Schumann in 15th, 16th, Johan Kleinans, Jean-Ray Bertha down into 17th, Eric Kirstein in 18th, 19th, Tennis Bertha, and Daniel de Villiers rounding out 20th. And unfortunately, a few retirements 4 retirements. No, 5
Yeah.
retirements.
Unfortunately, we had a couple of disconnects as well. So it's. I wonder if load shedding had anything to do with that. But yeah, absolutely awesome race, Stephen. I think we can look forward to another stonker of a race tomorrow evening. Ryan Ottens. I mean, that was an absolute stellar drive, winning the race. 12.5 seconds ahead of Mac van der Merwe. Unfortunately, Barkhuizen does look like it was a fuel issue. Down in third place, Daniel Rowe with his modified BMW coming home in fourth place. But then I'm looking down. Where's Grobler? Bago.
Bago.
Maybe I should look at my other screen, yeah? I'm not finding... Are you finding Bago?
No, I think Bago Krobler landed up with a disconnect, but rather unfortunate in terms of a couple of races having a difficult time, but some great performances out of our pro division, some amazing passes, definitely highlights for the year. I'm going to have to put it out there, and some stiff competition going into tomorrow, but that is round 4 of our RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series done and dusted. Round 5 next week. Points in the bag is everything that you need to go for. You need to grab whatever you can if you want to hold your position or climb up the ranks, because in this 8-race series, there is no room for error. And gentlemen, I got to say, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing, as we get towards the later parts of the race, the season, are we going to see more and more people getting a little bit more brave, trying out some unique things? Are we going to see guys pushing the envelope like we saw last season?
I think so, Stephen. I mean, half the season is now done. Now you're starting to realize who you are racing in the championship, and you're starting to do those calculations of how much places you can make up by finishing in various positions before the end of the season. So now it's crunch time, and I think the guys are going to go all out. Also, another thing to consider, the guys that did switch cars, during the latter parts of the season, they will be starting to know those cars a lot better and naturally become quicker in those cars as the season progresses. So I think it's business time the next couple of races.
That's it. Big thank you to all our sponsors for helping us. Without them, I wouldn't be able to make this event possible. Big thank you to the RaceFace team as well for all the hard work. Big thank you to you, gentlemen, for joining in the com box. Ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon. We're going the full mile here on the RaceFace YouTube page. We're looking to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, and we're also looking to hit that over 4,000 hours consumed on for RaceFace, which that is our goal. That is what we're going for, and we are so close to doing it. Actually, while I've got everyone in air, I think we could take our hat off, because 4,000 public hours need to be consumed. We have officially hit 4,428 hours done and dusted. A milestone of note here on the RaceFace page. Thank you very much. Thanks to you guys to making this all possible. And wow, that is an absolute feat of note. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're not going to keep you for too much longer. Gentlemen, any closing things from your side?
No, not really. Looking forward to tomorrow evening, and also want to say thank you to you from my side for everything that you're doing. I don't think we mention it quite often enough, the amount of work that you are doing. And just lastly, apologize for our stream starting late. Unfortunately, it was kind of one of those things that were literally out of our control. It does seems like with these 4 hours load shedding stints, we do run out of fiber backup, and the fiber seems to drop. So, yeah, hopefully that same thing does not happen tomorrow evening, Stephen.
That's going to be, well, hopefully not, and only time will tell. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we'll see you next time right here on RaceFace.pro. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.